Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My family and I recently went on a cruise on Grand Princess out of Vancouver, British Columbia to Whittier, Alaska, and one of our port stops was in Skagway, Alaska. We went to the Red Onion Saloon, we did a little shopping, and we went on the White Pass train ride into British Columbia. We had a fantastic time, and I thought I'd share some of the footage with you. This is in 360 format, so just remember you can grab your mouse or you can move your phone if you're watching it on a phone, and you can look all around. You can see up, you can see down. So take full advantage of that and enjoy the scenery. Here we are on the tender, pulling away from the ship on our way to the dock. This is the first time I had ever taken a lifeboat for a tender, so that was an interesting experience. I had always wondered what it would be like to be stuck on a lifeboat with a bunch of other people. This one wasn't that bad as it had this outside seating. I couldn't imagine being stuck inside as you're on the open ocean rocking back and forth, crammed in there with a bunch of other people, but this wasn't so bad, although it was a little slow.
But right now it's a nice lighting.
This shot is one of my favorites, either tendering away from the ship or tendering to the ship. You really get an idea of the size of the ship when you're right up against it with it looming above you.
I have so many other shows.
I know. Just getting
I literally brought 5.
If you look up on the hillside, right in front of the ship, almost right up into the sun, you can see what the recent rock slide happened. It completely eliminated all of the foliage along that side of the mountain. We were pulled up right against that pier right next to the rock slide, and it looked like it had all been cleaned up, but they must not be letting people walk there or cars go by there for safety's sake, I imagine. We were blessed with a bright, sunny day today. Fantastic weather. Probably the best that we had on the entire trip. To our left, you can see 2 ships docked with us in Skagway that morning. To the far left is Royal Caribbean's Radiance of the Seas. And then right behind it is a Norwegian Cruise Lines ship. I didn't quite catch what that ship was. I had previously been on Radiance of the Seas twice. I really loved that class of ship, the Radiance class. I had been on Jewel of the Seas a few times previously, and Radiance this past January, most recently. This tendering process took quite some time as the tender was pretty slow. If you're interested in this type of footage or you want to see more of this specific footage, I do post these videos in uncut format without narration on my other YouTube channel, Cruising Out of Sight 360 Uncut. If you're interested in popping over there and seeing the full video, I'll edit this one down quite a bit.
Wildlife so far has been disappointing. I better stop off at Skagway.
Straight ahead of me, you can see the ramp that we walked up from the dock up to the pier. It's quite steep. This is the third or fourth dock that we've had a very steep ramp to walk up or down to the boats. I'm always left wondering how someone on a scooter or someone with mobility issues would get up or down these ramps, especially at low tide. There were a few companies offering tours right here at the dock, so we went to one of the booths and picked out a combo tour. It was the White Pass train ride, plus a bus return from British Columbia where the train drops you off. You could also get a round-trip train or other combo tours with other types of excursions bundled in with the train. It was quite expensive. It was around $280 per person for a 1.5 hour train ride. But everything in Alaska is very, very expensive, so this fit right in with the bill. This was the walk to downtown Skagway from the dock. Very short walk, really nice wide sidewalk with a nice park area off to the left.
Okay.
There's a couple phones.
We had heard quite a bit about this Red Onion Saloon, so we definitely needed to stop in there. My wife wanted to take one of their famous reindeer fart shots, and we had heard that their pizza was really good as well, and it didn't disappoint. Really neat place. The waitresses are dressed up in the old style dresses, and I guess it used to be a brothel. The joke is now that for only $10, one of the madams will take you upstairs to see the museum that's upstairs. From there, we did a little window shopping. Got some fried dough at the famous local fried dough place, and then headed off to the train station to catch our train. We had previously been on a train ride in Norway and didn't get very good seating, so we definitely wanted to be here early. Come to find out, you didn't need to be here very early. All of the seats on the train were perfect. There are multiple different train lines running through here and multiple different excursions, not just the White Pass train ride. So the attendant there did a great job of making sure everyone got on the right train. Once the train got out of town, you could go out in between the cars to get a better view, especially up, or to catch some fresh air. It was somewhat crowded out on this platform quite often, especially during the more unique parts of the ride.
It was bordered on one side by rock and dropped hundreds of feet down on the other. Stampeders quickly realized that one rock step could very well be their last. There ain't no choice, said an old timer, of choosing between the Choku and the White Pass. One's hell, the other damnation.
Ready across the valley is
the Klondike Highway that we followed, but we followed the schedule.
Like I said earlier, there was no real bad seat on this train, as it was only 2 seats on each side. The previous train we had been on had 3 or 4 seats on each side, so it kind of stunk if you were stuck in the middle. On this train, especially on the way out to British Columbia, you're definitely better off on the left side of the train. That's where most of the scenery is until you get up on the plateau once you enter Canada. But our daughters were sitting on the right side of the train and they were able to see just fine. Most of the stunning views were on the left side, but there were some really neat things to see on the right side too. A lot of waterfalls coming down the cliffs on the right side of the train. Unfortunately, my camera was quite overexposed looking out the windows, but you get the idea, although you don't quite get the majesty of it all. We were passing a few small waterfalls on the right-hand side of the train. I was afraid to stick my camera out too far, thinking that we would enter a tunnel or something that I'd miss, and my camera would get whacked right off the selfie stick. The narration on the train was pretty good. It was interesting, but delivered in a very deadpan, monotone way of talking, so that was funny.
They started dying of starvation. It was nearly impossible for supplies to be shipped up north. They had to come on foot. Pandemonium ensued as hundreds tried to leave the territory for survival. Hoping to prevent further unrest, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police declared that stampeders entering Canada would be required to have with them a predetermined list of items which, when fully assembled, weighed roughly 1,200 pounds up to 2,000. Folks, I don't know about you, but I certainly cannot carry thousands of pounds on my back and hike up these mountains in one go. Neither could the stampeders. That's why this relatively short hike up to the summit turned into a journey of over 1,000 miles of back and forth hiking.
There's a bear. Did you see it? I thought it, yeah, but it didn't snap a picture of it.
Everyone was yelling out that we saw a bear, but I didn't catch it on the video. She's talking about the stampeders that wanted to get up into the Yukon from the shores of Alaska, and she's saying that they had to gather up a list of items before Canada would allow them entrance, and that was thousands of pounds of goods. So they would make their way up these dangerous trails, up the sides of cliffs, etc., with donkeys, mules, sheep, all kinds of stuff laden with all of these goods. But then they'd have to unload them, turn around, go back, and make trip after trip after trip to get enough stuff to be able to be allowed entry into Canada. I thought that was interesting.
Time to see.
Kind of a neat shot. If you look ahead, you can see the entire length of the train going around the curve. We're on quite the cliff on the left-hand side of the train. The views right here are absolutely amazing. I wish the camera captured even half of how amazing the view is. It would have been nice if I could have mounted my 360 camera to the top of the train. I'm sure if you look elsewhere on YouTube you can find much better footage, but of course that footage wouldn't have my amazing commentary.
Yeah, for real. She said it was like 250 feet.
the sad and tragic chapter of the history of the White Pass Trail crossing. This valley to our left is known as Dead Horse Gulch. The trail out of Skagway had originally been advertised as an all-wagon trail. With such a smooth and easy beginning, people who set out on the trail had little reason to doubt that their mules, oxen, and horses could carry their goods all the way over the White Pass to Lake Bennett. But when the trail narrowed and there was no room for animals or people to pass, the line bunched together in gridlock. Many of those using animals to drag heavily laden sleds had never really worked with horses before and treated their animals with harsh brutality. The stampede was fatal for many of the animals as they were beaten and driven along the thin, sloppy trail. An estimated 3,000
It was short. That's what pretty well.
I guess the train used to go over this bridge on the left, but it hasn't been used in about 60 years.
Whoa.
It literally just collapsed.
Yeah. Lots of snow.
We're going over that bridge.
Yeah. That leads to the tunnel.
And here we're going over the new bridge. Or, well, at least newer.
Because I was waiting for the good view.
Folks, in just a few moments, we will have reached the White Pass summit at an elevation of 2,888 feet. Up on the left-hand side and upwards on a small hill, you will see that a bronze obelisk representing the international border and the continental divide. The cabin that you will see is a replica of where Northwest Mounted Police officers were stationed, checking to make sure that each stampede.
Here we've crossed over into Canada.
Heading into the Yukon.
Oh, we can't really see it. That sucks.
Of the great mass migration of people to an area that before four people found gold in a lonely stream, the most that could be said is that at least most of them returned home alive and with a good story to tell. It's estimated that about 100,000 people left their homes to head up to the Klondike. Some 30 to 40,000 made it up there, each spending a small fortune of their own on their ton of goods. About half of those people were able to make it out to the gold fields and try their luck at gold prospecting. Of that number, only an estimated 4,000 people actually found any gold whatsoever, and only only a few hundred found enough gold to be called the Klondike Kings. The Klondike Gold Rush is a story of perseverance, determination, and true grit, and it goes hand in hand with the birth of the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad, the railway built of gold.
Quite a stunning landscape off to the left. It's hard to imagine people trying to navigate their way around these giant boulders or even over the top of the boulders.
Huh?
Bruh. A big mountain of dirt and rocks.
Hell.
Waiting for it to move so I can It did move.
This takes forever to take. Did you see the thing?
The train was in the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'm going to put the mic down, get up, stretch my legs, and come by and meet you so you can put a face to the voice that you.
Those are good Christmas trees.
Let's find something great.
Are we bringing one home with us?
Yes. Daddy's camera is so funny. Hello.
I'm coming. If I gotta go back tomorrow, I will. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll go get them. Yeah.
This lady came through the train and I guess they had souvenirs to sell, but I guess their timing was off because they didn't offer them to us before we got into Canada. And she said they weren't able to sell them in Canada, so she just handed them out. The hats were really nice quality too.
We will soon arrive in Fraser, and a customs official will board the train to check passports. Everyone does need to come inside and take their seats at this time. The only problem with this announcement is that there are no speakers on those exterior platforms. If you see someone out there, please do me a favor and ask them to come inside at this time. I do have important arrival announcements to go over.
At this point, they did do a passport check. And here we are in Canada at the end of the train. I was trying to get my family to do this at multiple spots. With little luck, this was probably the best take we had. From there, we boarded a bus back to Skagway, Our bus driver was pretty interesting. He pointed out a lot of things along the way that we didn't get to see from the train.
And just look how rocky all this is, and how short some of these trees are that may be 100
For the first
years old.
half of the bus ride, we are on the same side of the ravine that the train was on, but a bit lower. But then eventually we cross over the valley and we're traveling on the other side of the ravine. So we got to look up and see where the train traveled.
Today.
Pretty neat to see it from a different perspective.
Up here it's almost too high for bears to be up here, or sometimes people have seen a moose a little bit farther back on the other side of Fraser, but and this, see, it's really about 1,000 feet deep. It's a fjord. Probably one of the
There are a bunch of people bicycling on the same side of the highway we're on. I guess he said that people will take a tour bus up to the top with their bicycles and then they can pedal all the way back down to Skagway. Pretty neat. He made a little joke saying that they're Meals on Wheels for the bears.
But this is the way to ride a bicycle. They bring you up here.
What are you doing?
Then you have to coast
Oh, you
down.
want to sit like that?
Coast away.
We already did.
There's a little bit up in there.
I kept hopping from side to side on the bus. There was always something neat to see on either side. Luckily the seats towards the back were empty so I could do this. I just remembered by looking at myself that I'm wearing both the hat that I left at the ship with as well as the free hat that I got on the train.
This road took about 30 years to construct from Skagway all the way to Whittier because they had to go through the governments of Canada, the state of Alaska, and all the states, the territory of Alaska. It took about 30 years. The first 2 years, probably about 1978, 1979, when it was completed. They closed it because of avalanches and big, huge snowfalls up here. But the ore industry was still mining ore up in the Klondike area and needed to get it down to Skagway to send on some of the ore.
That's the Skagway River down to our right. Beautiful scenery over to the right as well.
Washington, or perhaps in Asia. I'm not sure where all of these ore shipped to, but they wanted it open year round. That's when the snowplows began to keep it open as much as they could each year. However, they do close it for a day or two, especially if there's an avalanche or a rock slide that hinders the things that I just don't have time to tell you all the things that are going on through here. Are all of you going back on the ship? Okay, that makes it easier to get through the customs.
Now we've switched over to the other side of the gorge.
Ooh, now we can go fast.
Yay! Watch it.
Where your train White Horse. By the time it was
The
built,
bus dropped us off at the train station, and we walked back to the dock from there, and then boarded the tender and headed back to the ship. If you look right at the front of our ship, you can see where the rock slide was. Much better now that the sun is further overhead instead of right behind it, washing it out. It left quite a scar. I hope you enjoyed that footage. We had a fantastic time in Skagway. Nice walk to the downtown area, great food and drinks at the Red Onion Saloon. We also went to the fried dough place there in Skagway, and that was really good as well. I didn't capture any footage of that, but that was really good. Good shopping, some really interesting shops in Skagway, and then a beautiful train ride with interesting commentary from the tour guide on that White Pass train, and then a leisurely bus ride on the way back. All in all, just a fantastic day. You got to love these port days when you can go out, you can enjoy, you don't run into any snags, and you have a really, really good time. So all in all, just really good time with the family. We really, really enjoyed it. If you liked this footage, I do have another YouTube channel called Cruising Out of Sight 360 Uncut, where I post all of the unedited video without me yammering away about whatever that video is. And it also usually has some relaxing music in the background. So I highly recommend you go out there and check that out if you like this video. Thanks for watching.